Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NCTIES Fall Virtual Conference, Maintaining Momentum. You are now in the session Pushing Boundaries and Unleashing Creativity, Discovering the Power of Advanced Makerspaces. If you would like to grab a copy of the slides, please do. Pull up a new tab and type in bit.ly/advanced maker. Those are all lowercase letters. It's very important because on Bitly's it is case sensitive. My name is Leslie Pope, and I will be your host today. Just a little bit about me. This is my 19th year in education. Roles that I've had in education has been classroom teacher, instructional coach, a STEM specialist, media coordinator, and I am now in my fourth year as a district ITF. I am a proud product of North Carolina, born and bred. I got my bachelor's degree many moons ago at UNC Wilmington in social work. Right after that, I got my elementary ed certification at Campbell University, and 20 years later, I decided to get my Master's of Library Science and my ITF add-on from Appalachian State. If you ever need to reach me, my email is leslie.pope@cravenk12.org. I do work for Craven County Schools, which is down near the coast. If you know the little town of New Bern, that is where I live. Just some fun facts about me. I am a mom to 15-year-old triplets and 3 pugs, and I love to travel with my family around to different MLB stadiums. And wouldn't it be nice if we could go to the World Series one day, especially when one of our teams are playing? Okay, so we're going to move on along. And anytime that you are using tech, robotics, or Makerspace, sometimes you have to pivot. And if you're old enough like me to have seen the Friends episode where where Ross, that's his real name, David, is helping to guide the couch up the stairs and they get stuck. So his favorite word is pivot because they need to change course. That happens because you're dealing with lots of unknowns. So, what you think is advanced may not be what others think. So, I hope you do find some useful resources today. And if we were face to face or if we were live virtual, I would have you click on this link, which takes you to a Padlet. And you can post under the different elementary, middle, or high school grade level bands. Or if you're K-12 like myself, you could also post under that category. And Padlet is a freemium, so you do get 3 Padlets, and I find it very useful to use with my adult learners and with students just to kind of have a gathering place that's in real time of resources. So let's get started. My first example of leveling up, it would be to use Dollar Tree materials. Now we know Target and Walmart have dollar sections also where you can get some things cheaper. But here are your materials. You have a tin pan, you have aluminum foil, you have flat marbles or pennies, you have modeling clay, and you have cups of water. So what are you going to create with that? Well, I am so used to giving my students and adult learners a challenge that I've never thought to turn the table on them and say, here are the items, what can you create with it? And I do want to give credit to Molly Holloman, who is an educator on loan with DPI, and Carrie Robledo, who now works at the Friday Institute, for this idea, because when I went to their NCAT session last November, this was one of the first things we did, and it has just really stuck with me ever since. So we were all divided up into different grade level bands. And you can see here that grades K through 2 came up with the challenge. Using the materials provided, can you engineer a boat that will hold at least 5 people for at least 10 seconds. Now you can see they have their constraints, they have their steps, their vocabulary, their drawn plan. They're going to create it, and then they're going to come back to it to see how they can improve it. And that is going through the engineering design process, which is something that I do no matter what kind of STEM challenge or makerspace area that I am in. With the grades 3 through 5 challenge, this was November. So they came up with the task to construct the Mayflower. The goal is to have it hold as many people or weights as possible. And this group also tied in a literacy connection, which I do love to combine STEM and literacy with STEM activities, makerspace activities that I do. And it also incorporated the use of Britannica Encyclopedia, which you can find inside of NCF Cloud. And that is a great vetted resource to do research for grades K through 12. 6 through 8, I started thinking how crafty, how creative are they going to be? And they decided to do a water transfer challenge where they had to move water from a large cup to a small cup without touching either. They had to fill it up to the top line using as few materials as possible and with a time constraint. And then with grades 9 through 12, we had a fabulous PBL high school English teacher who came up with this problem, and they had some of the constraints. And I really doubted that this grade level band could come up with the challenge, but they did, and they did it beautifully. So definitely take these ideas and use these, share these. This is a great way to introduce the engineering design process in a leveled up way. So, what are some other ways that you can level up your makerspace? So, one thing we know that a lot of us have access to, but we may not know how to use, is a 3D printer. I'm not going to lie, I've had 3D printers in my school before. I have never taught myself how to use them, but you would be amazed at what the kids can do. If you give them just a few instructions, then they are the ones that can help you build. So if you click right here, this takes you to next level makerspace ideas. And just to share a few of those with you, make a steerable robot, build a smart home device, design and print 3D fabric, design a soft robot, adaptive game controller, sew wearable circuits. So you can click on any of these, and what it will do is it will take you to reviews, it will take you to the lesson, the cost of it, and any other applicable videos or resources that they have. So this is a great way just to level up. With different grade levels, I tried to particularly focus here on middle and high school because a lot of times the mindset is we don't have a space for this unless we have a dedicated class for it. And that's not true. A makerspace really doesn't have to be a space. I travel, I go from place to place to place. So my makerspace is wherever I choose to set it up. But another great place to start a makerspace would obviously be your library. Okay, so how can we level it up in elementary? These are some examples, again, that you can click on. Once you click on those, it's going to give you some great ideas of what makerspaces look like, and then just different things that you can choose to do in your makerspace. One of my favorite ways that I've leveled up with math and with sight words with the lower grades is by using the robot Bebot. This is a great starter robot because it does not require an iPad. The kids are simply using their directions, and you can also throw north, south, east, west in that mix as well. So because I love to give gifts, these are some actual lessons that a colleague of mine and myself created using the standards. We have a first grade math bebop activity for you, kindergarten, and then we switched it up and did some sight words. And then with second grade, we also did some decomposing numbers games. So, what you do here is, and this is going to link you to a Google folder that has everything that we used, but we made these cards, 15 by 15 cards on Canva. And basically, we took the math that they were learning at the time and we just created activity cards out of them. And then what you do is you put them underneath a mat. I almost want to say it's like a shower curtain liner, very similar to that. And then the kids will draw a card. So they may draw 17. And then they have to find the equation or the number sentence that is going to give them the sum of 17, which would be 9 plus 8. And then they code Bebop to go there. So, this is definitely just some ideas to throw out there. Reach out if you have any more questions. We have gained access to all of our Bebots through grants that we have done. Leveling up in middle school, these are also some great ideas. Junk Robot, Penny Battery, I love that one, and Book Page Roses. Now, we did a massive weeding in all of our libraries last year. And so there were a ton of books left over. And so actually, the high school came up with a fundraising activity at Valentine's Day. And the kids made roses out of some of the pages of the books, and they were able to raise about $400 just to go towards consumable cost of Makerspace activities in their library. And this is a picture of the flowers that I have. Also, a great way to just incorporate a little bit of robotics again is you can review vocabulary with Sphero. So, what we did, because we have a subscription to Discovery Education, is we tied in our vocabulary words in a studio board within Discovery Ed. We linked a video segment, and then after we were finished with the lesson, the kids basically put picture cards with words on them out. And I read the vocabulary words, and the kids took turns using the iPads to code the Sphero to the correct vocabulary word. So that's just another way to take something that's very simple and turn it into an engaging, advanced activity for kids. Now, in elementary, you can let them simply drive with the Sphero Play app. Or if you want to level up and have them use code blocking, you can, and that's going to be done with the Sphero EDU app. Last but not least, thinking about leveling up in high school. Again, I have all grade level bands. Probably high school is the one that I've had to work the hardest at because most of my career has been in elementary. So this is clickable. And it has everything that you need from a Zine workshop. And that's basically writing and editing content to bind the book and have a whole publishing process. There's also shapes art. There's kinetic sculpture. Who says you can't use kinetic sand in high school, right? And then there are some ideas to have stations set up also. Not at my high school, but at another high school in my district. That's what they do to get kids in. And a lot of kids like to come in to the library during their lunchtime. That's a safe space. They would rather eat and do some activities without being bothered by the noise in the cafeteria. So, some things that you could think about setting up, which is leveling up also, is podcasting. We all know using a green screen now doesn't mean just having a dedicated space for a green screen, so to speak. You know now that Canva has its own built-in green screen. So you could definitely use that. There's also 3D printing. You can use Tinkercad. Right now, I am helping a second grade class use Tinkercad in their classrooms because they've read a story about If I Built a School, and then they're actually using Tinkercad to start building the school. And if we want to continue to level that up as they go through middle school and high school, you can by having them start to do some 3D printing. And then I just have a slideshow here. Credit to one of my colleagues, Kelly Williamson, for sharing this with me last year. These are another set of activities that you can do in your Makerspace area for National Poetry Month. So just some ideas to throw out there. There is, you have your sequencing activities that you can use. You also have a typical fib. So that's incorporating that math piece into it. 6-line poem. Examples of those. Another example. You can see here how they've done that. There is a link to the student activity. There are also ELA activities. You can see here, there's a podcast link to it, the Criminal Podcast. They are so good, but I do love a good mystery. So that's why that would really interest me other than math, because math is not what I'm interested in as much as reading and literacy. There's also a social studies link here. You can see there are different links here for that. You watch it. Green screen poetry. There's also some science links, blackout poetry, which the kids absolutely adore. And you can use that with any books that you read also, but you can make it even simpler and just use it with a PDF that you may have printed off. So just wanted to take a little run through of those activities. And this is something now that I'm working with AIG 4th and 5th graders, but this is really an activity that you can level up as you go through the grade levels in grades 4 through 12. And that's just using mini golf with mini Spheros. So what we did is I tied in math elements with that. For my 4th and 5th graders, we really focused on angles, types of lines, and polygons. And the kids create their mini golf course holes, of course, in a small group with 2 to 3 people. And they go through the whole engineering design process. And then at the end, that's the fun part where they get to test it and see if they can code it to make a hole in one. So what I've done here is I've given you access to just the basic directions, a video that I share with my students, and I show them just different possible ways to create their golf holes, and of course the requirements. Now this can get really advanced when you take it up a notch and get it to the middle school level, and then even more so when you get it to the high school level. Now, this is where I would ask you to think about what you would suggest for advancement with this activity, and we would talk about, here is this activity that's perfect for 2nd grade, but what would you do to it to level up? And I've used this activity before, and I also am an NC Boulder ambassador, so I took this on the road with me. And I really wanted to make it to where it could be digital, or it could just be, just an activity that doesn't use anything digital. So you can go either way with it, but you're going to use the roller coaster book, which is not such an older book, but it does have a few years on it. But it's just a great book that lets kids experience a roller coaster because some of them may have never ridden a roller coaster before. I also gave a couple of technology options. Amusement park physics is great for older kids to design their own roller coaster, and at the end, it gives them a safety rating and explains it scientifically, explains why it worked or why it didn't work. There's also linked here Funderstandings, which is for the younger kids. And that's pretty cool because you set everything up and then it actually goes through live the roller coaster demonstration so you can see instantly what it is that you need to improve upon. But you can also just give students materials and let them design a roller coaster. You can use a paper plate, pool noodles, marbles, markers, colored pencils, poster board, tools for measuring speed, velocity, time, distance. Again, it just depends on what grade level you are. I've seen second grade use this for force in motion. I've seen fifth grade use it, seventh grade. And again, how would you advance this? So if we were, again, live together, I would have you click on this Jamboard and you would grab a sticky note and tell me how you would level up with the roller coaster lesson. And so all you would have to do is grab a sticky note. You get to choose your own color. You get to type it in. And then you get to place it somewhere along the Jamboard. Now, Jamboard is set to go away in a year from now, but we still have access to it. So that is something that I still like to use. If you're looking for an alternative, I do recommend, if you are an Apple user, Freeform. That is a whiteboard option also. And I also recommend for you to try out Fig Jam because that's going to be a great replacement for Jamboard. So let's take a look at ways that we can level up with STEM activities. So you can always take STEM and you can add real world experiences, which is what we want the kids to be able to do, to your Makerspace. So, for example, you read the story, The Water Princess, to the kids, and this goes as far up, like I said, through high school because it may be a picture, but it may be a picture book, but we call those everybody books. And I have to give credit to Kim Colazzo. She is on Twitter. She is now retired, newly retired, but she is just a great STEM advocate. And she is the person who introduced me to adding in, giving them materials, giving them a cost for the materials, saying, how can you create a water filtration system with $100 or with $20 with these certain items? You can't get refunds. You can't take anything back. You get what you get. So you have to really have a good plan to be able to do this before you buy your items and then get into the create process. Again, going along with this same activity, you're going to rate how it looks. How does it look once you've created it? What worked well? What would you change if you could do it again? These are just really great reflection, thought-provoking questions. You could do this on paper and pencil. You could have them do it in their LMS, whether you're using Seesaw, Canvas, or Google Classroom. But these are just ways to level it up instead of saying, here are these materials, now build something. You're adding a math element. You're adding a thought-provoking reflection type activity. And this is another one that I loved where you talk about drop aid packages because a lot of students don't understand that in order for people to get supplies and materials that they need, they have to be dropped. from a helicopter or an airplane. So I tie in this tale right here about the vulture and the turtle and the tortoise and how they could have kept his shell from breaking. And I have the give the kids Monopoly money. They have a budget of $100. They're going to plan it. They're going to plan what they want to buy. And the story, I do have the lessons packaged for you if you click where it says click. And I do give credit to Carrie Robledo from the Friday Institute for sharing this with me back when she was also a district ITF. So, just a couple of other ways that you can level up before we wrap up. Augmented reality, virtual reality. I love merge cubes. But I do want to give a shout out to Jordan Caldwell on Twitter. I have him linked here. He is an AR VR guru with lots of ideas. Squishy circuits are another way to level up. Excuse me, Makey. That is seen over here on the right in the picture. Drones are another great way to level up. I'm giving Kim credit again. You can follow her on Twitter. She used those in her classroom, picture in the bottom right. We are near a marine base, so we cannot fly our drones outside, but we can fly them inside because they're small enough. And then just general makerspace ideas. Some of you have been around long enough to do the brush bots. Those are a ton of fun. Dentist will donate the toothbrushes to you. And then, of course, the Oculus. That's just another great way to level up. Again, anything that is underlined is hyperlinked, so you can click and it gives you even more ideas. Just some methods for publishing STEM lessons in the classroom. I've already mentioned our LMS, but there's also Book Creator. We've already mentioned Padlet. There's Canva, which I mentioned. That's how I created my Bebop cards. Chatterpix is great for those littles. There's Adobe Spark, Storyboard, Comic Life. You think of it. There is something digital out there for ways to publish and let the kids bring it all together. And of course, any type of video publishing also works, such as Flipgrid, Screencastify. You can even record using your iPads and your Chromebooks. I do thank you for coming to the session today. I do have a Creative Commons license on this. So that just simply means please give credit to the original owner. You cannot sell the material for any reason, and it is fine if you make a copy of this and you remix it, transform it, do whatever you would like to it. Okay, you just have to make sure that you license it the same way that I did. I have some references linked here. And again, if you need to reach out to me, please do. It's leslie.pope@cravenk12.org. And I use Slides Carnival for my theme. I thank you so much for coming, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the semester.